What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Team Member Perspective podcast show. My name is Coulter. I'm your host. And in today's training, I want to do a deep dive on the objection, I have it through work, when trying to sell life insurance. If you have been bringing up life insurance with your customers, whether this is your first week selling life insurance or maybe this is your 10th year, then you know that this objection is fairly common when bringing up life insurance. And I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of this objection, talk about maybe why it's coming up, and talk about how we can handle it when it does. But I also want to spend some time on how we can prevent this objection, how we can get ahead of the objection, and maybe it never comes up. So first and foremost, I have it through work. Why does this objection come up? Well, I feel that this objection will come up if you're leading with the product. Like if you're leading with life insurance, that's a trigger word. For whatever reason, life insurance is a word that triggers objections, and this is probably the most common objection we get. And, you know, if customers that we're talking to have life insurance through work and they hear the words life insurance, their brain immediately goes to, oh, I've got that policy through work. Okay. And so, you know, the word that you're using, life insurance, will probably trigger this objection. Okay. And so you can do one of two things. Number one, you can expect this objection to come up and be prepared to handle it when it does, so that you're not surprised. Or number two, you can be, maybe a little bit more strategic with the way that you're opening a life insurance conversation. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about if we get this objection, I have it through work, what do we do? What do we say? And, there are a lot of different ways to handle this objection. And I find that sometimes team members are like, do I ask questions? Do I just tell them that, it's not enough coverage, they don't own it? Like, what do I do to actually handle this objection? Well, in a way that causes the customer to be like, oh yeah, I never thought about that before, and actually allows you to keep the sale moving forward. Because what I find is this objection a lot of times is a roadblock for team members in actually selling life insurance. Okay, let's first understand that people do have life insurance coverage at work. And if they do, and they hear the words life insurance, they're going to give you this objection. And, obviously the first thing that we want to do when we're given this type of objection is we want to let the customer know that we're listening to them. We want them to know that we heard what they said. Okay. And so the first step with this objection is first and foremost, we need to acknowledge the objection. And guys, don't make this too difficult. Just, say, awesome. I'm glad you have that through work. Good deal. No, that's great that you have that coverage through work. Okay. Acknowledge the objection. They've got to feel like you're listening to them. Otherwise, they're going to put their wall up, their guard's going to go up, and they're going to try to get you off the phone. The next time that there's a pause in the conversation, they're going to say, thank you, Coulter, but I think I'm okay. But at the end of the day, when you're given this objection, you've got to understand that people's walls go up. Okay. And when you pivot to life insurance, when you say, hey, what are you doing about your life insurance? Or tell me about your life insurance, life insurance, life insurance, life insurance, and they give you this objection, you have to assume that their wall is here. You have to assume that they believe that policy is good, right? Imagine like a checkbox in a customer's mind of all of the things that they need to do to be a responsible human being, a responsible adult. And one of those checkboxes is life insurance. Right? And, I think people generally understand that life insurance is important, but because so many of them have it through work, they almost check that box off. They think that it's enough. They think that, it's going to be plenty to get their family by. Okay. And here's the thing is we all know that that's not the case. Okay. And so after we acknowledge this objection, we've got to understand a little bit about work policies and where work policies fall short, where there are some gaps or holes in the work policy, and then take that information and use it in the form of questions for the customers. Okay. So after we acknowledge the objection, what we want to do is we want to kind of clarify the objection. And these questions are really meant to help the customer clarify for themselves about this work policy. Okay. So in order for us to clarify clarify the objection for the customer, right? Because we're not necessarily trying to clarify this for us. Like if they tell us they have coverage through work, we know it's probably not enough coverage. Okay. So that's the first place that it falls short. Okay. Not enough coverage. okay? But here's the thing. What I don't want to do is I don't want to say, oh, Mr. Customer, that is not enough coverage, right? I don't want to do that because then it would cause the customer to get defensive, right? And they feel that pressure. We want to avoid that, okay? Instead, what we want to do is we want to guide the customer to their own conclusion that the coverage through work is not enough, okay? And I'm going to teach you how to do that, okay? Outside of this coverage not being enough through work, they also don't own the policy. No ownership, okay? And the reason that that's a problem is because if the customer changed jobs, right? Maybe they found a new job. That benefit will not follow them, okay? Maybe the customer retired. That benefit is not gonna go with them into retirement most of the time. Maybe the company went through some layoffs. That benefit is not going to follow them if they get laid off, okay? And in a lot of times, in a lot of cases, if the customer were to get seriously sick or seriously injured and they couldn't work anymore, that benefit may not be there for them, okay? And so those are two really big gaps and holes in the work policy that we want to help our customers realize, okay? But there's a difference between telling them, hey, that's usually not enough coverage, and hey, you don't own that policy. There's a difference between doing that versus helping the customer come to that conclusion on their own. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so in this clarifying step, what we want to do is we want to, after we acknowledge the objection, we say, hey, good deal, glad you got something in place. We then want to ask questions to help them realize that number one, it's not enough coverage, and number two, that there's not a lot of ownership here, okay? And what we want to do is we want to ask a question in a way that seeds doubt in their current coverage through work. We want to ask questions in a way that causes the customers to, stop, think, scratch their head and be like, yeah, I guess I never really thought about that before, okay? And so how do we do that? Well, question number one that we can ask the customer that will seed doubt, and it will cause the customer to realize what life insurance is really designed to do and help them come to a conclusion that, maybe it's not enough coverage to work. And here's how you can ask that question. You can say, hey, okay, after you acknowledge the objection, good deal. I'm glad that you've got something set up. Now, with that policy at work, is this like a full coverage type policy where there's enough coverage to come in and pay off, all the loans on vehicles, any sort of debt, pay off the mortgage, replace income for, 20 years, leave money behind for the kids? Is it like that type of a coverage, or is it just like a smaller one? Okay, and I'm going to repeat that. So with that policy at work, is it like a full coverage type policy where it's going to, pay off all of the loans and debt, pay off the mortgage on the home, replace your income for 20 years for your family, leave money behind for your kids? Like, is it like that type of a coverage, or is it just like a smaller one? Okay, now I want you to think about that question. When I say, so with that policy at work, I'm going into clarifying what they actually mean by they have coverage through work. And I'm getting them to, in their mind, visualize and think about that coverage. Is that coverage enough to pay off all the loans? Okay, they're thinking about, oh, I've got a loan on my truck, I've got another one on my car, I've got this student loan. And I say, is it enough to come in and pay off the mortgage in full? Now, the customer is now, okay, paying off my mortgage, replace income for the next 20 years. Okay, my mind's going there. Like, is it enough coverage to do that? And leave money behind for kids. And so what I'm doing with that question, guys, is I'm seeding doubt into the fact that they should probably have enough coverage to do all of those things. Okay. And what that question is going to do is it's going to cause the customer to kind of start to realize that maybe that's not enough coverage through work. Okay. And now your customer is going to respond to you. Now, you'll run into customers that either one, know how much coverage they have through work. Okay. And typically it's going to be 1 to 2 times their annual salary. That is typical life insurance coverage through work. Okay. Or number 2, they're going to have no idea, or they're not going to remember how much coverage they have through work, okay? Now, if they don't, and they're like, oh, I don't know how much coverage I have through work, then you will say, yeah, usually most employers are giving, 1 to 2 times, your annual income for coverage. And so I guess like if you had, let's say 2 times your annual income, is that going to be enough to come in and pay off all of your loans for your family? Is it going to be enough to come in and pay off the mortgage, replace your income for them, and leave money behind for them? Is it going to be enough to do all of that? Okay. And just following up with that question, it's going to cause your customer to go there again. Okay. And odds are if it's, 1 to 2 times their annual income, they're going to tell you it's probably not going to be enough. Okay. And so that's how we get our customers there, and for them to come to a conclusion that, maybe it's not enough coverage. Because I want to ask you this. Okay. What do you think is more powerful in regards to, trying to persuade or persuasion or influence? Over here, number 1, is it Coulter's opinion and Coulter's recommendation than to get more life insurance coverage? Okay. Being a salesperson, okay, you gotta think about this from the customer's point of view. Is it more powerful with Coulter's opinion that, hey, Mr. Customer, you need more life insurance? Or number 2, is it more powerful if the customer can come to that conclusion on their own that they need more life insurance coverage? Okay, well, influence says the customer's idea. Okay, and so this question is designed to seed doubt in a way that causes the customer to realize that, oh my word, maybe I don't have enough coverage through my policy through work to do all of those things. And can you see that me by laying it out, enough to pay off the loans on the cars and your debt, pay off the mortgage, replace income for 20 years, leave money behind for kids. Can you see how I'm insinuating they really should have enough coverage to do all of those things? Okay. And so that is one question that you can use to clarify this and seed doubt and almost help them become aware of this gap, aware of the problem. Because at the end of the day, why would your customer care to get a policy outside of work and get more coverage if they don't feel like they have a problem in the first place by not having more? Okay. So the second question that we can ask that will help bring awareness to the fact that they don't own this policy. Again, I can do 1 of 2 things. Number 1, I can say, hey, Mr. Customer, you don't own this policy. Okay. It's like a company car, which I like that analogy, by the way. It's like a company credit card or a company computer, right? If you only get to use the car, the card, or the computer while you work there. But the moment that you leave and you're no longer working there, that car, the card, or the computer stays with the company. Like, people understand that. I love that analogy. But there's a difference between me saying, hey, you don't own this policy, versus the customer coming to a realization that, yeah, maybe I don't own this policy. Okay. So how do we do that? Okay. This is the next question that you can use when you get this objection. I have life insurance to work. Okay. And it's this. So with that life insurance policy at work, do you know, like, if something happened to you, maybe you got seriously sick or injured and you weren't able to work for a long period of time, or maybe, you left the job, changed jobs, went and got a different job. Heaven forbid the company went through some layoffs, or even like when you retire. Do you know, is this policy something that you can take with you, or is it probably going to or would it just stay with the company? Okay, let me repeat that. Okay. So with this policy at work, let's say that, you were to get seriously sick or seriously injured and you couldn't work, or, maybe you changed jobs, or maybe heaven forbid the company went through some layoffs and the job left you, or even like when you retire. Is this policy something that you can take with you, or does it stay with the company? Okay. And again, I want you to think about this question. Okay. I'm painting the picture of all these different situations as to when, if they get sick or seriously injured, if they leave the job and because they're changing jobs, or maybe the company has layoffs and they, lose the job, or, when they retire, can they take this policy with them? Okay. I'm bringing more awareness to this gap that, I'm insinuating that, look, all of these things could happen. Do you know, can you take that policy with you, or is it going to stay with them if you're no longer there? Okay. And generally, you're going to have your customers, they're going to say, well, I assume it would probably have to stay there. Okay. If they say, I don't really know, that's where you can come in and say, well, typically with work benefits, they're only benefits while you work there. It's kind of like a company car, it's a company credit card, or even a company computer. It's a great benefit while you work there and you can use that. But, the moment that you're no longer there, you can't really use that anymore. Okay. And when we're doing this, guys, we're just helping them bring awareness to the problem, which is that they do not own the policy. Okay. And here's the thing is, like, if you can just get good at those questions, okay, when you get this objection, I have it through work culture, I'm good. Okay. Acknowledge the objection. Hey, good deal. That's great. Glad you've got something in place. Okay. And then go into these questions where you're going to bring awareness to the fact that number one, it's not enough coverage. Okay. We know that, but our customer doesn't. Okay. And number two, that look, like you don't actually own that policy. Okay. But again, the principle here is what is more powerful from an influence standpoint? Is it Coulter's opinion that you need to get more coverage, that you need to get a policy outside of work? Or is it the customer's idea that, hey, I need a policy outside of work and I actually need more coverage? It's going to be the customer's idea. Okay. And what I found, guys, is these two simple questions not only bring awareness to the problem, but they don't invite this sales resistance into the conversation, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about? It's that pressure that you feel when you're trying to like steamroll people's objections and tell them why they're wrong, right? All day long, if you do that, your customer's guard and wall is going to be here, and they're not even going to be open to what you're saying. They're going to try to just get you off the phone. And then, you don't sell anything, okay? Whereas here, like if you can understand that their wall's here, right? Acknowledge the objection, kind of start to disarm them a little bit, but then use these questions. What you'll find is your customer will start to open up a little bit more to you, okay? And when we can help them come to that conclusion on their own that, hey, it's not enough coverage, I don't own the policy, now there's some form of interest that you've created in life insurance. Okay. And, at the end of the day, your customers aren't coming to you saying like, I'm interested in life insurance. Like imagine if they did. Okay. They do if you're like a life insurance agent and you're buying leads, like there's already intent. People are already interested in life insurance. But in our opportunity, if you sell P&C and you're trying to sell life insurance alongside, people aren't interested in life insurance in this opportunity. You have to understand that like there's no intent. We have to create that intent. Okay. And so those are two simple questions that y'all can use to start to better handle the I have it through work objection. Now, are these questions like the fix all? No, they're not, right? But will they help you have more sophisticated, higher level conversations with your customers? Absolutely. Will these questions build trust with your customer? Absolutely. Will these questions buy you some time and actually cause the customer to challenge their current beliefs about what they have in place? Absolutely. Okay. But they're not a fix all. And here's the thing, biggest thing with objections that I see is sometimes when we do this acknowledge and we clarify and we're asking these questions, we're sitting too long in the objection. When really what we want to do is we want to move on. We want to move the conversation forward. Okay. Which leads me to the third step of handling objections in the way I like to do it, which is advance this thing forward. Advance this thing forward. Okay. And so I have it to work. It's an objection we're going to hear. And so why not just get prepared, be strategic and have higher level conversations by doing this. Okay. And the last thing that I want to say, and what our group is really good at, actually preventing this objection from ever coming up in the first place. I think handling objections is a skill. Okay. But I think there's a skill preventing objections that, if you get ahead of these objections so they never come up, you're going to sell more policies. You're going to be less frustrated because, you're preventing them. You're not saying certain things and the way you're saying them or asking certain things in a way that triggers these objections to come up. So I want you to understand that. And I want you to think about when you get an objection, okay, there's one of two ways that you can go about the way you think about objections. Number one, you can say, you know what? I got that darn objection again. John's just one of those customers, super stubborn. And, at least I brought it up, but like John's supposedly got coverage through work, so he's good. Okay. Or, we're blaming the customer. We're blaming John for the fact that objection come up. Or two, what we can do is we can take ownership of the fact that objection came up. And take ownership meaning, hey, there's something that I said. Maybe the way I said it, maybe my timing was just off. Maybe the way I asked the question or what I asked actually triggered this objection to come up in John's mind, right? We can either blame the customer or we can take ownership. And where do you feel like you're going to be able to have a breakthrough? Is it going to be blaming outside circumstances and other people for your lack of success? Or is it going to be taking ownership of the fact that look, that's on me. Okay, I'll tell you this. It's when you take that ownership, that's on me. that's when you're going to have a breakthrough. Okay. And so what I would challenge you to do is think about like, how can I get ahead of this objection? How can I prevent it from ever coming up? Because here's the thing is like my favorite objection is the one that never comes up. And I'm telling you, when I was writing 200 plus life apps a year, 100 plus thousand in premium, I don't look back at that time thinking, man, I just got really skilled and really good at handling people's objections. I got really good at steamrolling people. Like I didn't take no for an answer. I don't look at it that way. I look at it like I was just writing policies. Okay. And the reason is because I wasn't really getting objections. I was preventing them from coming up in the first place. So if you're wondering like, well, how in the world do you prevent them from coming up? Because like I'm hearing this objection like at least a couple times a day. And you're saying, Coulter, like you can prevent them, you can get ahead of them? Yes, I'm saying you can prevent them. You can get ahead of these objections, okay? And so, we're gonna have to save that for another training. And honestly, if you are interested and you want to learn how to prevent objections, you want to increase your skill set, have stronger conversations, have more sophisticated conversations with your customers, learn to not only handle objections, but prevent them from coming up in the first place, click the link below, schedule a call. We got many different ways that you guys can get involved with us. But our goal is simple. We want to help team members sell more life insurance. We want to help team members make more money, unlock that commission check. And we want to help agency owners become a top producing agency that maximizes its revenue. And you know that the only way to do that truly is through our life insurance production. I appreciate you guys. Like this, subscribe, share it with a friend, and let's get on a call. Appreciate you guys, and we will catch you in the next one.